So the herniation refers to the inner nucleus of the disc leaking out or getting pressed out by pressure. Once that's out, it's floating around in your tissues down there. It can cause irritation, but the body will eventually eat it up. It will consume it. Then it's gone. So now you just have kind of like a disc that, consider it like deflated. It doesn't have that hydraulic type pressure. This is representative of kind of how the bottom discs are in my lumbar spine. And that situation does make life more challenging. You don't have the suspension that you would like in a disc that's hydrated. You got to deal with that. So we're not going to get the herniation back in the disc, and we're not going to have a disc that's fully capable of providing the impact absorption that you want. The goal is to build support for the spine while at the same time making modifications to your life, which I do, and I can talk about some of the modifications I do to address or just help the structure that's left in your body to be able to do its job. So, you've had structural changes with herniations. The discs don't hold water, don't hold fluid as well. What do I do in this situation? I don't sit as much. My body doesn't tolerate sitting for very long and too much of a day. So I either am up on my feet, standing, walking, or I get horizontal at times throughout the day. And sitting is a lot more pressure on your discs than standing. I could show you guys the research on that. Very famous study done on disc pressure in different body positions. Here's pressure over here on your intervertebral discs in different body positions. We have laying on your back is the lowest with your knees bent. That's because the bending your knees takes pressure off the hip flexor pressure off the discs. Laying on your back with the knees straight, a little higher. Standing is the third lowest form of pressure on your disc. So standing, bending forward is the same as just sitting in good posture. So that's an interesting thing. And then sitting and leaning forward is higher. And then sitting, leaning forward with some weight in your hands is by far the highest way. So imagine bending down to tie your shoes from a chair or, pick something up off the ground. This is the way to push hydration out of your disc. So you can see that discs will hydrate below 100. They will bring in more fluid into the disc below that 100 number. Fluid will get pushed out of the disc and they will dehydrate at higher pressure. So sitting is a great way to dehydrate your discs, push all that fluid out. So I either am up on my feet, standing, walking, or I get horizontal at times throughout the day. In the evening when I'm, if I'm watching like a movie or a show or something, I'm going to be horizontal. I'm not going to be sitting. And so this is life modifications to deal with a disc that is not as resilient and capable as a full healthy disc. And then if you're wanting to just relax your hip flexors, then I would be laying with a bolster under my knees, like a big bolster. You can either get a wedge or even just a rectangular piece of foam or like several pillows piled up and just have your legs resting on that bolster so that all your muscles can fully relax. That will be a preferable way to relax your hip flexors. But lying down, either prone or supine, is not addressing the muscles, right? We're not training the neuromuscular system to support the spine by lying down. So these are more in the category of life modification things. You're unweighting the spine, you're getting some fluid to come into the discs, and the discs aren't going to hold the fluid for very long. When you stand up, that'll hold for a few hours, and then you might have to lay down again and get some more fluid back into the disc. So that's one thing, modification. And two is all the best things that you can do to help support your spine with the other structures. And the main structures that we have control over are the muscles. And the muscles are dynamic, so they're not automatically engaged. So we got to learn that engagement, and then we got to use that engagement in our daily life. So the goal is to stabilize the lumbar spine, create more support for the lumbar spine, the lower back, the vertebrae and the discs. And that support is created through your abdominal region muscles and the intra-abdominal pressure that you can create in your core through your breath And also it's affected by your posture. So we want to have muscular balance in all the muscles that surround your pelvis, your hips, your front of your abdomen, your lower back, your sides, all just those muscles working synergistically. And so that is the approach that we're taking in core balance training, that in combination with education, right? Understanding back pain. And so how are you training your neuromuscular system? Are we engaging? Are we practicing the core engagement, getting super familiar with it? And then when we get up off the ground and we go do chores around the house or go to work, are we integrating that engagement and that support for our spine with our muscles in the most optimal way? And I will say for everyone here, the most optimal way is not maximum. It's low level support, learning how to breathe into that low level engagement and create some intra-abdominal pressure with your breath. And that intra-abdominal pressure unweights the spine. Intra-abdominal pressure inside your abdomen unweights, or it's like an anti-gravity mechanism. It is exactly an anti-gravity mechanism. If you've ever heard of an anti-gravity treadmill, what it is it's a treadmill where someone can walk or run on 10, 20% of their body weight. They're on a treadmill. The treadmill has an airtight bag around their waist. They fill it with pressure. And by pressurizing enclosed area that goes from the waist down to the treadmill, it unweights a human body. And you can practice running on an injury, or maybe you've had a prosthetic limb and you need gait training. This is such a fantastic technology, but we actually have this built into our spine. We have a core that we can pressurize with our breath, and it can happen throughout your day, all day long. So these are the things that I would recommend focusing more on, is the mental neuromuscular training, in addition to, the body positions that you're putting yourself in. And how long, this is probably the last thing you want to hear, but it's probably for the rest of your life. And that's the situation I'm in, is that I'm going to be working on my core. I'm going to be doing therapy for my body, and I'm going to be living my life in a way that is best for my spine for the rest of my life. And that's going to require me to get down on the floor and do therapeutic exercise for my core. Just like, exercise in general, or weight loss, or whatever, you want to stay fit. You don't get fit and then you make it to being fit and then you stop, because then you get unfit. So it continues really forever. The more you commit to that, my personal belief is the more results you can get. In a lot of cases, it takes a full commitment. Like, how can I build my life around being the healthiest way to live for my spine, so that I don't have to, get a spinal fusion, or just so that I can live as fully as possible. Anyway, hopefully some of that information is helpful. I'll be back next week. And until then, get down on the floor and connect to your core.